Faster Than Light, or FTL, at its core is a game based around player choice. Every possible outcome is determined by how you decided to tackle the situations presented to you, and how you used the resources that you were given. It's a game that tests your on-the-fly decision-making, ability to plan forward, and most of all, your patience, because you're really gonna need to be patient if you want to succeed, but the reward is definitely worth it. You start out by choosing one of the preset ships, which you will unlock more of throughout the game. Each one is tailored around a different playstyle, such as the Taurus, a ship fitted with drones that constantly harasses enemy ships, and ion weapons that are useful for disabling enemy shields. Or the Agitator, a ship that utilizes a beam weapon that wreaks havoc on unshielded opponents. Or maybe the Kestrel, a sort of jack-of-all-trades ship that you will mold how you wish. Each option has its own pros and cons, and you will spend most of your journey looking to cover your weaknesses while improving your strengths. After choosing a ship, you are given the simple premise of FTL. You are on a Federation ship carrying intel on how to defeat a rebel faction that is attempting a coup, and you must take this intel to the Federation base all the way across the galaxy. How you manage to get there, though, is completely up to you, and believe me, it won't be an easy journey. As you hop from location to location, it seems like every single person and thing in the galaxy is trying to get in your way. Pirates and rebels roam around every corner, debris fields and nearby suns threaten your ship internally and externally. Alien races invade your ship and nebulas shut down your system. It becomes almost overwhelming. However, overcoming these obstacles is never a move in vain because of the tangible rewards you gain and for the information you learn. By defeating invaders, your men gain fighting experience that can be turned on to your opponents. By fighting in nebulas, you delay the rebel fleet that constantly follows behind you. You learn how to use the debris field damage against your opponents and how to manipulate the air in your ship to minimize the fires caused by the suns. All this in just the first sector. There's already this high level of complexity that I really think makes FTL so addicting, and I've barely scratched the surface of the most complex aspect of the FTL experience, scrap. When, how, and where you decide to use your scrap is what will define each run of FTL. You need it to buy weapons, repair your ship, get new crewmates, unlock new systems, upgrade your reactors to power those new systems, and to get new augments. Every possible purchase I just listed is extremely vital in its own way, so choosing wisely what you decide to spend precious scrap on is literally the difference between life and death. So that begs the question, how do you obtain this vital resource? You gain scrap every time you defeat an enemy ship, and how much scrap you obtain is based on what sector you're in, with later sectors giving greater rewards. Alternatively, you can gain useful resources from random events and distress beacons. If you're lucky, you might gain some easy scrap, or even get issued a quest. Quests are more difficult and often require special equipment, but are generally your most profitable ventures. Or you might get your crewmate eaten by a giant alien spider. Could really go either way. However, no matter how lucky or unlucky you are in the beginning, everything can come to an end in just a moment. Because as I've mentioned before, this is not an easy game. In fact, it's one of the hardest I've ever played. To the date of this video, I have 130 hours and 124 attempted runs of FTL. Want to know how many times I've beaten the game? Once. Ever. What could possibly be the source of this much difficulty? Well, you know those choices I've been talking about this whole video? Every single one is so important that messing up just a single one can be an instant game over. And you have to make hundreds, some you won't even see the effects of until it's too late to do anything. However, by throwing attempt after attempt after attempt at the game, through pure trial and error, you begin to learn the best way to handle every situation. What weapons complement each other, when to take risks and when to play it safe, what enemies to engage and which to avoid. Putting all these lessons together, you can finally break through to the final sectors of FTL, where I think the combat begins to really shine. You truly become the captain of your vessel, issuing orders to your crew and timing your weapons for maximum destruction. The music becomes elevated with the sounds of lasers and missiles flying, as you cruise around defeating opponents and collecting huge amounts of scrap. Until eventually, you reach the final sector and the last roadblock to victory, the Rebel flagship, a 3-stage boss fight designed to probe out any weaknesses in your ship. The first stage consists of 4 separate weapon systems working independently of each other, so if you don't have a reliable way to disable them, or the required shields to tank the hit, you'll lose. And after just barely squeezing past that, I moved on to the second phase, where I promptly lost because I had no way of disabling the drone that was shooting down on my missiles. But I came back again and made sure I was properly equipped for the second phase. Even so, it's a tough battle. I had to keep track of all my weapons, managing all my crewmates, putting out fires and repairing damage, while also taking down the shields and system of the flagship and trying to do as much damage as possible before my weapon system was destroyed. The ability to pause the game becomes incredibly important here because I frankly don't think a person could handle everything in real time. But finally, and just barely, I managed to defeat the second phase. And finally the third phase, where the flagship gains a massive shield that can be repaired if you don't defeat it fast enough. But I think mostly just through luck, I managed to squeeze by once again to claim my one and only victory over FTL. I believe it's easy to make a game intentionally frustrating or virtually impossible, but it's much harder to make a game challenging in a way that every time you lose, you feel like it was your own fault. And that's something that I think FTL does beautifully. It's a game that sucks you in and keeps you there, failing time and time again, trying to make even just a little more progress. But once you finally succeed, it feels amazing. Even more than that though, it feels earned. It takes a special kind of game to instill that level of satisfaction.